Maharaj Prithu's 100 horse sacrifices. And I believe we have to start from text 15. Vadhan nivrittam tam bhujo hantave atre rachodaya jahi yajnahanam tata mahindram vibudadhanam dhamam dhamam. When Atri Muni saw that the son of King Prithu did not kill Indra but returned, deceived by him, Atri Muni again instructed him to kill the heavenly king, because he thought that Indra had become the lowliest of the demigods. Due to his impeding the execution of King Prithu's sacrifice. Please mark Atri Muni's decision, or Atri Muni's judgment was that yes, Indra had become the lowliest of the demigods. It's a very strong conclusion or a judgment. But this is so because Indra was trying to impede Prithu Maharaj's sacrifice. So any attempts to impede the sacrifice of devotional service of a devotee is taken in a very strong sense. Very strong sense. So here Maharaj Indra was an upright devotee, but because Prithu Maharaj is offering that sacrifice in pure devotion, and Indra is trying to obstruct that, he has been considered in a very lowliest sense, very strong sense. So it's a strong offense, or it's a strong impeachment on behalf of, or on the part of Maharaj Indra. So that is why Shastras are warning us to be extremely, extremely careful and sensitive in not to obstruct the offering of devotional service of any devotee. Of any devotee. So therefore, Atri Muni is now telling Maharaj Indra, telling the son of Maharaj Prithu, to go back and kill Indra again. He went once. So Maharaj Indra disguised as a sannyasi, and therefore, out of respect, the son of Prithu Maharaj came back. Now he's being sent back again. Anyhow, on the other side, Indra was also not, had Indra just taken a lesson and run away and done with it, then also it would have been fine. But he again came to obstruct, and he was again coming to obstruct, and he was again coming to obstruct. So Indra was also not taking a lesson. Again and again he was coming to mess up the sacrifice. On his part also, Indra was quite stubborn. Evam Vainya Sutah Proktas Twaramanam Vihayasa Anvadravad Abhikruddho Ravanam Gridaraddiva. Being thus informed, the grandson of King Vena immediately began to follow Indra. Who was fleeing through the sky in great haste. He was very angry with him, and he chased him just as a king of the vultures. The king of the vultures chased Ravana. So here's a mention about Jatayu. Just as in anger he chased Ravana. In the same spirit, the grandson of Maharaj Vena, the son of Prithu Maharaj, he chased Maharaj Indra. So swam rupam chatadhitva tasma antarhita swarat viraha swapashumadhaya pitur yajnam upeyiva. When Indra saw that the son of Prithu was chasing him, he immediately abandoned his false dress and left the horse. Indeed, he disappeared from that very spot. And the great hero, the son of Maharaj Prithu, returned the horse to his father's sacrificial arena. So we will see here actually very interesting. The point which we can see here is that that no matter what is the stature of a person, if one is following the path of dharma, then such a person, because he is being blessed, because he has the blessings and empowerment, you will see that one following the path of dharma, his steps are bold. Whereas one who is following the path of adharma, his step starts faltering. So very interestingly, we can see. So now we see, okay, here Prithu Maharaj is a pure devotee. His son is also a great devotee. And Maharaj Indra is also a devotee, a good devotee. Is it not? So now, if you try to understand, we will now, by our superficial metrics, the evaluation can come that yes, Prithu Maharaj's son, Indra seems to be a bit, more powerful in stature and position than Prithu Maharaj's son, is it not? But despite all his strength and everything, Indra is faltering. Maharaj Indra's, his position, his strength, his prowess. And if you try to see what a cheap show Maharaj Indra is demonstrating here, is it not? He's Indra. He's so powerful. Even if he wants to do something, he can do it with confidence. But how can he be confident? Because he has taken the trajectory of adharma here. So this is the point, that one who is on the path of adharma, his steps are going to falter, no matter whatever his position is or whatever his stature is. This is the point. Whereas Maharaj Prithu's son, we don't even remember his name. No, but but you see, his steps are confident. Therefore, if we embark on the path of dharma, in due course of time, a devotee steps, who is embarking on the path of dharma, who is fixed and riveted on the path of dharma, such a devotee's steps are going to be more and more confident actually. So therefore Maharaj Indra is very fearful. And Maharaj Indra has given up his disguise. Rather, he just disappeared from the spot. He just wanted to run away. Such an embarrassing performance, such a cheap show. But Maharaj Indra is not able to understand that his attachment is making a caricature out of him. So Maharaj Indra is making a caricature out of himself just because of his mundane attachment. That's all. He is simply making a caricature of himself just because of his mundane attachment. Text 18. Tattasya chadbhutam karma vichakshaya paramarshayah namadheyam dadustasmai vijitasya iti prabho. My dear Lord Vidura, when the great sages observed the wonderful prowess of the son of King Prithu, they all agreed to give him the name Vijitasya. Okay, so this is the first time we are hearing the name of the son of Maharaj Prithu. So because of his wonderful prowess and his daring and standing, you see, there was daring on behalf of the son of King Prithu, because his opponent was a formidable fellow. Miss Maharaj Indra was a formidable personality, or is a formidable personality, very powerful. And to stand in front of him requires daring. But then, because the Prithu Maharaj's son, he did that daring, now he's getting the name. Great sages are showering him the name Vijitasya. Very interesting to observe that very interesting to observe the Bhagavatam style of nomenclature or naming. So the name is not coming inherited, the name is not coming it's so many times the name is after the activities of the person, is it not? The name is after the activity of the person, is it not? This is a very beautiful nomenclature or naming style in Bhagavatam we can see. So the name is not something which can be inherited, but it is based on activities. This goes to show that Bhagavatam has this recurring emphasis on activities that make your activities glorious. And that is what will give you a name, is it not? Like sometimes people have question that Dhritarashtra, the name Dhritarashtra is coming because you see the name literally is speaking about the activities. That yes, Dhritarashtra was so attached to land, Dhritarashtra, and he wanted to, so the land and power, he was so attached to that. So that such a person is Dhritarashtra. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu, one who is attached to sex and comfort, Hiranyakashipu, so gold and the sex, the sensual. So that's Hiranyakashipu. So sometimes the question comes, so how can names be so who will want to have the name Dhritarashtra or Dushyasan or Hiranyakashipu actually. So in one sense we see here is one clue. See, in the positive side also this naming is working. So Prithu Maharaj did a daring service. It was a daring service to have faith on the Lord and stand in front of some formidable personality who has become off track in his mindset, Maharaj Indra, for the time being. So he did a wonderful service, and therefore he's getting the name Vijitasya. Is it not? Just like Bhishma Dev, he did a positive thing. No, he got the name Bhishma, the ferocious vow taker, Bhishma. So so on one sense, this is showing the emphasis of Bhagavatam, that it is a person should be known by his activities, not by any other kind of disposition. A person should be known by his activities, not by any other kind of disposition, actually. Activities. That is the point. That is the point. Anyhow, just touching on the point that, who would like to have the name Hiranyakashipu, or uh, uh, so there are people who take pride, actually, because you see, when Prahlad Maharaj was addressing Hiranyakashipu as the as the best of the Rakshasas, he was feeling very, it was not a, no, he was taking it as a compliment and he was very happy about it. Yeah, so best of the Rakshasas. The that was a compliment for him. This is not. So, anyways, in modern days also there are some people we find, they date people, but yeah, some people name the sons as Ravana as well. So people, some people make movies or serials on how Ravana was a glorious person, and Ravana was a big hero, like that. So so it's not an impossible thing. It's not something illogical, actually. People, a demoniac person will take pride if he called as a demon. So will take great pride. It will be a compliment for him rather than an insult. It's just not. This is the point. But the thread to see is that it is activities which make a person. It is activities which make a person. And therefore Prabhupada used to Prabhupada used to be heavy with this nomenclature, spiritual or inherited names, spiritual names. The our acharyas have been talking heavily about it. Like somebody is having the name of a Goswami or a Nityananda Vamsha, but then the activities are not that spiritual. So then such a person has been has not been or such a stature has not been much recommended by the acharyas. So it is activities which make a person, actually. It's not lineage, it's not inheritance, it's not but it is one's individual activities, is it not? So here Prithu Maharaj's son is being glorified, not because he is son of Prithu, he's son of Mahabhagavad, he's son of Shakti Aisha Avatar. He is being glorified because he has done a daring service for the pleasure of the Lord. Therefore, he is called as Vijitasya. Upasrijya tamastivram jaharaswam punarhari chasala yupatas chano hiranya rasanam vibhu. My dear Vidura, Indra, being the king of heaven and very powerful, immediately brought a dense darkness upon the sacrificial area, the arena. Covering the whole scene in this way, he again took away the horse, which was chained with golden shackles near the wooden instrument where the animals were sacrificed. So we have heard that, or the scriptures many times talk about that this material attachment and material desires take away or steal away the intelligence of a person. We can see this everywhere. So here we can see Maharaj Indra. Okay, one time, actually Maharaj Indra would have realized that first time actually he got somehow or the other saved. He got saved because of the Vedic culture and the respect which was given to a sannyasi, like that. Although everybody knew he was a pseudo sannyasi, he was feigning it. He was a pretender, cheater. But he got saved somehow. He could have taken a lesson that, okay, it seems risky for life. It's a life threat out there. Better let me not jump into it. But Maharaj Indra did not take heed. His intelligence didn't kindle, didn't give him a warning. And therefore, Maharaj Indra is again jumping into committing the mistake. Rather, he is becoming more and more aggressive right now. So this time he has put darkness all over the sacrificial arena. Again, he took away the horse. So his audacity is increasing. So we can see this type of feature is there everywhere. In Sri Ramayan, we see Ravana, one by one, all his generals were getting killed. Ravana did not take a lesson. Actually, before anything and everything, Maharaj Vibhishan, gave him a warning. He didn't listen. Then he saw the powers of Hanumanji. He still did not listen. Then his generals started getting killed one by one. His own brother got killed. His sons started getting killed one by one. And finally, he was alone and still he didn't take a lesson. This is how mad a person becomes owing to material desires. How nasty are these material desires? How nasty are these material attachments? That which even a child can see, such a Pandit is not able to see. Why? Because he has got completely bewildered and blind. So actually, here Maharaj Indra is committing a serious mistake. Serious mistake. And for all practical purpose, you're going to see Maharaj Indra is going to get killed. He was almost dead. Nobody could have saved him. Maharaj Indra was almost dead. Is it not? On the sacrificial arena. It was only by the grace of Brahmaji who intervened. Otherwise, there would have been, Maharaj Indra was practically dead. Maharaj Indra is not taking heed, actually. Is it not? So one time he got saved. Second time he is becoming more and more, his audacity is increasing. And he's creating a bigger trouble. And you're going to see that this is going to repeat a number of times. So as a sadhaka, as a devotee, we have to be very careful. Let me not get bewitched by this material attachment, this greed, lust, envy, ego. It's very dangerous. They can make a joke out of a great personality like Maharaj Indra. What to say of us? Text 20. Atre sandarshayan Swaramanam vihayasa Kapala khatavanga dharim Dharam Virunainam abadhata. The great sage Atri again pointed out to the son of King Prithu that Indra was fleeing through the sky. The great hero, the son of Prithu, chased him again. But when he saw that Indra was carrying in his hand a staff with a skull on the top and was again wearing the dress of a sannyasi, he still chose not to kill him. Atri nachoditastasmai sandade vishikam rusha so swam rupam chatadhitva. Tastahav antarhita swara. When the great sage Adri again gave directions, the son of King Prithu became very angry and placed an arrow on his bow. Upon seeing this, King Indra immediately abandoned the false dress of a sannyasi and giving up the horse made himself invisible. Veeraschasvam upadaya pitrayagnam athavrajat tad avadyam hare rupam jagrahur jnana durbalaha. Then the great hero Vichitasya, the son of King Prithu, again took the horse and returned to his father's sacrificial arena. Since that time, certain men with a poor fund of knowledge have adopted the dress of a false sannyasi. It was King Indra who introduced this. Since time immemorial, the sannyas order has carried the Tridanda. Later, Shankaracharya introduced the Ekadanda sannyas. A Tridandi sannyasi is a Vaishnava sannyasi, and an Ekadanda sannyasi is a Mayavad sannyasi. There are many other types of sannyasis who are not approved by the Vedic rituals. A type of pseudo sannyas was introduced by Indra when he tried to hide himself from the attack of Vijitasya. The great son of King Prithu. Now there are many different types of sannyasis. Some of them go naked, or some of them carry a skull and a trident, generally known as Kapalika. A trident and a skull, Kapalika. All of them were introduced under some meaningless circumstances, and those who have a poor fund of knowledge accept these false sannyasis and their pretenses, although they are not bona fide guides to spiritual advancement. At the present moment, some missionary institutions, without referring to the Vedic rituals, have introduced some sannyasis who engage in sinful activities. The sinful activities prohibited, forbidden by the Shastras are illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. These so-called sannyasis indulge in all of these activities. They eat meat and flesh, fish, eggs, and just about everything. They sometimes drink with the excuse that without alcohol, fish, and meat, it is impossible to remain in the cold countries near the Arctic zone. These sannyasis introduce all these sinful activities in the name of serving the poor, and consequently, poor animals are cut into pieces and go into the bellies of these sannyasis. As described in the following verses, such sannyasis are pakhandis. Vedic literature states that a person who puts Lord Narayan on the level with Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma immediately becomes a pakhandi, as stated in the Puranas. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudradi Daivate Samatvenaiva Viksheta Sapashande Bhavedruvam. In Kali Yuga, the Pakhandis are very prominent. However, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has tried to kill all these Pakhandis by introducing his Sankirtan movement. Those who take advantage of this Sankirtan movement of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness will be able to save themselves from the influence of these Pakhandis. clearly we can see that the material plane simply hovers upon or hovers around the externals and the superficials, whereas it is only the spiritual plane which takes us inward, takes us deeper. So we see very much the modern notion of spirituality is only about certain very external rituals, certain very external codes. Sometimes people just wear a tilak, and they feel that okay, they are spiritual. Some of them only wear a thread and they feel that they are spiritual. Something very, very external. Or they only want to offer some 5 minutes agarbatti and they feel that they are very spiritual. Some people give 1,000 rupees donation in a month and they feel they're very spiritual. So the whole notion has been, see, the material notion of is something very superficial, very external, very external. Similarly, in one's day-to-day life, we will see that people's focus is something very external. It's something quite shabby, quite superficial, quite shallow. Like you see, in general, materialistic person, he is simply whatever she is simply obsessed about uh, how he is looking, fashion, clothing, hairstyle, different decorations on the face, on the body, whatever. And the entire mindset is just obsessed about it, is it not? So we see this is so superficial, so external. Actually, the matrix of a person, the evaluation of a person, so superficial. And so this goes to show that actually the more and more materialistic we become, the more and more we become superficial. And because it is becoming more and more superficial, it will lose its power and meaning. Because there is no meaning, because it is so external. It is just the skin of a fruit, is it not? You know, the taste is in the pulp, not the skin, is it not? Just like a banana, the taste is in the pulp, or the orange, the taste is in the pulp, no, not the skin. Then the pulp is deeper then. But we see the nature of materialistic civilization is that things simply go very external, actually. And that's how we can see how people are misguided. So one loses the effectivity, and the efficacy is lost as soon as there is material amalgamation. This shows that in a sadhaka's life also, the more we mix material aspects in the practice of our spiritual life, the more it is going to go superficial. And the more it goes superficial, the more it will lose its essence and meaning and substance. And it is going to be ineffective and the efficacy will be lost. And then one is wondering why things are not there is no transformation. And why is it not working out? Yeah, because there's so much of material aspects. Actually, we have to go deep. We have to go deep. Then there is going to be substantiality. So, we have to go deep. And that is why a sadhaka, so that is why we want to be fixed about our devotional service, our devotional activities. That okay, let me perform my sadhana activities most meticulously. Let me perform my seva most meticulously, because that is the only way by which I am going deep. That's the only way by which I am going deep. Otherwise, the externals will not work out. In Krishna consciousness also we may have externals. Okay, we may have a dress of a devotee, may have a tilak of a devotee. Now, but these externals, our acharyas are telling us, the externals are there to give us a pointer or a remembrance of the internal. That is the point, is it not? That is the point. So the focus is to go internal. The focus is to go deep. Only when we go deep, we can see that there is efficacy, there is substantiality, there is meaning, and there is transformation there. So things will move on the internal plane, not on the external plane. And that is why Prabhupada is telling that externally these people have organizations, they claim themselves to be spiritual, they may have some scholastic knowledge of the Shastras, they may have written books, but what are their activities? Even the basic activities of meat-eating, gambling, meat-eating, illicit sex, intoxication, they are not able to give up actually. Then what kind of spirituality is that? What kind of spirituality is that? So this